Hey everybody, welcome to the video. This is number 47 on our pre-calc final exam review playlist. In this example, we are finding the g of f of x. In number 46, we just found the f of g of x and we got x. If we get x again, in both directions, then we have proven and confirmed that f and g are inverses of each other. But I did go on my whole rant earlier about the domain of f of x. So for further nitpicking on that, please see example 45 and 46. I get a little carried away. I will try to keep it in check on this one. Okay, so let's get into this. So if you watched the last one, I was more detailed. I'm going to get right to it. So I will have g of x as my outer function. That is the square root of, I made this square root very big, but I could erase, 5x. What's going to go in for x? Let's make that a little bit bigger to really give myself space. So 5x. So what's going in for x is x squared plus 3 over 5. That went in for x, right? Where was I? Oh, minus 3. And I'm just going to erase a bit of my extra radical roof. Sometimes what I like to do, and I think is a good habit, and some of you guys messed this up on the limit quiz that we just recently took, is paying attention to where the roof of the radical ends. So in this case, the radical roof should be covering all the way up to the minus 3. Sometimes it's just covering, the first term. Other times it's covering, the whole thing. So make sure you're paying attention to where the roof ends. So by drawing that little hook at the end, I feel like it helps you visually remember where it ends if you, look away from the problem for a minute. And it also helps you mentally mark where it ends. Okay. Anyhow, how do I clean this up over here? Well, let's see. I can first reduce 5 and 5. That should reduce because the 5 right here is technically over a 1. And when you have a product of two fractions and everything's attached by multiplication and or division, and really there's parentheses invisible whether you see them or not around that entire numerator, I can reduce the 5 over the 5 even if diagonally it's attached by a product and or quotient only. Okay, not if you had 5 over blah blah equals something with 5. In this case, do they cross out? No, that's not what happens. That's a case where people like to call that, you would use cross multiplication. So if you have an equal sign in the middle, that is different. Now I'm going to write out what's really next, what the next step looks like. Many of you are just going to do this and keep track of this in your heads. So after I cross out the 5s, what is left inside? We have x squared plus 3 minus 3. So algebraically, what am I allowed to do next? We are going to be allowed to cancel the positive and negative, or the plus 3 and minus 3. And that is going to leave me with the square root of x squared over here. Now again, I know I'm gonna be annoying again. So the square root of x squared. Now many of you are gonna be like, okay, so it's x. This question is just poorly written, so I'm being a little annoying. There's nothing in here that says assume all variables are positive. If it said assume all variables are positive, then yes, you're good. The answer is x. So let me just do that. Scooch this up a bit. I could go right about there. So equal. So f of, nope, not f. This one is the other way. So g of f of x equals x. If it said assume all variables are positive. It could say positive. It could also, maybe more proper for this situation, it might say assume all variables are non-negative. That actually in this case might be better. If it said that, great, you're done. You got it. We got x. But the square root of x squared, if you are not told to assume that all variables are positive, Does anybody know what the actual answer would be? What if all variables are not necessarily positive? What happens? I wish I could like raffle off a prize if you knew what would be the case. What if, maybe if I ever do live streams, but someone has to teach me how. I kind of know how. I'm kind of lying when I say I don't, but I also kind of don't. So what if all variables are not necessarily positive? If that's the case, then the square root of x squared equals the absolute value of x. That would be your answer, absolute value of x. But again, the whole restriction on the domain, I just can't get over it. I know, you don't care. But I'm sure for this question's sake, the answer is supposed to be x. So we have just confirmed that f and g are indeed inverses of each other. I know I went off on my tangent. I said I wouldn't. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. The video is longer than I wanted, but not as long as the last one. So if you love it, thumbs up. No, thumbs down. If you knew it was absolute value of x, I'm just curious. Like, let me know. I'm just curious if you knew before I said it. And don't fib. Be honest. I'll be so impressed. But let me know. And if like one person said they knew, if you just like their comment and say, yeah, me too. Awesome. I love you. Good for you. That should be from an algebra unit. And your teacher maybe spent a day on it, but it comes up in limits in calculus. So make sure you are brushing up on it when you do limits at infinity, when you deal with radicals. Okay. So tuck that into your brain for later. So thumbs up, thumbs down, question, comments, concern, check the playlist at the end or check the description box for links. That's it for now. Adios.